All right, so looks like we're getting started. Welcome, is everyone back? We're looking at the finalists, we're looking at all the new joiners, and it's gonna be really fun. What are we all looking forward to? Anyone would like to speak of? What do you like to see? I'm looking forward to see all the perfect work that everyone has done so far. It'll be quite exciting.
I think they are preparing a little bit for their presentations in a few minutes. So I'd like to also welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining and congratulations for making it this far. It is a very special moment of the competition, the Winter Challenge, where we'll get to see everyone that made it to the top 5 teams. They will get to present their solutions in front of our jury members, and then we'll see who won this year's Winter Challenge. So before we get into it, let's see who the finalists are. So let's congratulate our top 5 teams. Team Odysseio, Team Dire Wolves of Wall Street, Team Top Chefs, Team Vanguard, and Team The Elastic Minds. Congratulations to all of you guys. We see quite a lot of countries in those top 5 teams, and we are super happy to have you representing from all over the world. There is a lot of variety. So we're excited to see what your solutions are. Before we get into it, let's also have a warm welcome to our jury members. Thank you for joining us this year. We have Christos Benos joining us as the General Manager of the IOX Winter Challenge. Thank you, Christos, for joining, as well as Alexander Zitkovsky, who's a founding member of the IOX Winter Challenge, and I have the chance to work with him in the past 6 years. Also, Linda, joining us from Japan today. Hi, Linda. Linda is the head of academics at Next Gen Education Hub. We also have Konstantinos Bobotis. Konstantinos Bobotis is head of School of Business Management in the Metropolitan College. And Ioannis Yalamas, John, who's joined us in the past few Winter Challenge finals, I believe. John is a teacher and an academic tutor, as well as a co-founder of Prosvation. And I'd also like to welcome our next jury member, Jordan Chanev, who is the IO Bulgaria team leader. Thank you, Jordan. Unfortunately, Jiva could not join us today. So those are our jury members. Those are the people that you will be presenting to in the next couple of hours. Please keep your microphones open unless you are invited to present. And I believe we can start with the first team, Team Odysseio. Guys, if you can please start opening your cameras, unmuting your microphones, maybe we can run a quick tech check. Hopefully you can hear us. You get to screen share your slides. And the flow will go as follows. You will have 10 minutes to present your case. I will give you a 1 minute left reminder in the chat. Unfortunately, after 10 minutes, I will have to stop you, and then you will have 10 minutes to answer questions from the jury. So, Team Odysseio, are you ready?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
perfectly.
Great.
Just some seconds to have technical problems.
I believe that you might be in the same room, so there is a little bit of
Echo.
yes.
Yes, we are fixing this.
Okay. Maybe you can just close the sound every time someone speaks or use one microphone, or maybe be in one camera even, that is fine.
The way to solve this is to actually switch off everyone's microphones unless you're the one talking, because otherwise there'll be a reverb of microphones. So just keep that in mind.
We are screen sharing right now. You can see
Yes,
our
you
slide.
are. And the sound is much better. So if you are ready, guys, I will start the timer. Again, you have 10 minutes and then 10
Can
minutes.
you hear me clearly? Everything fine?
Yes, all good.
Okay, so I will start in 5 seconds. Okay.
Yes, you can start.
Okay, so I will start in 5 seconds. So 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good evening, everyone. We are Team Odysseio, and just as the Greek hero Odysseus had to find his way back home, Thessaly needs to find its way back to sustainability. Thessaly is the agricultural heartland of Greece, with over 600,000 of inhabitants, 9.7 billion euros in regional DPD, and basins that covers over 500 hectares of cultivated land. But this creates one critical point. 90% of all water in the region goes to irrigation. This extreme dependence has created two crises. The first is the water crisis, because in each year, 800 millions of cubic meters of groundwater are extracted with no metering and no allocation caps, leading to aquifers have a bad quality water, and the increase in the scarcity of the water. The second is the climate and soil crisis, because after decades of monoculture, the soil capacity to absorb water was affected. The engine of this crisis is explained by the common goods economic model. It is composed of three individual decisions that make sense for each farmer in isolation, but together destroy the system. The first is the over-irrigation, because with no withdrawal cap, everyone maximizes the water usage. The second is about the excess of the nitrogen fertilizers, because it affects the food quality. And the third is the intensive monoculture that leads to a short-term profit happening at the expense of the vegetation cover. This decision generates negative externalities that all society pays for: the contamination of the water, the pumping costs rise, and the floods. This is explained by the economist Harding's tragedy of the commons, but happening in a real-world large scale.
The water crisis unfolds into three problems that reinforce each other. The first is the nitrogen pollution. Intensive fertilizers leach nitrate through the soil during irrigation cycles. Groundwater concentration reaches 299 milligrams per liter. This contaminates drinking water across the entire basin and creates chronic health risks. The second is the flood destruction. Wetlands were drained, rivers were channelized, natural buffers disappeared. When peak flows arrive, the infrastructure cannot cope. The results was what we saw with Daniel: 3.5 billion euros in reconstruction, roads, canals, bridges, all destroyed. Finally, the over-extraction. Irrigated area every year increases with no allocation rules whatsoever. No metering, no caps. 800 million cubic meters per year are extracted from groundwater, and saline intrusion already threatens coastal aquifers. And there's an aggravating factor that connects everything: the loss of the soil's sponge capacity. Because 83% of Thessali's land is under intensive cultivation with vegetation cover stripped, erosion and compaction have reduced soil depth by 24 to 30 centimeters over the last years. Infiltration capacity has collapsed. This matters because degraded soil worsens everything simultaneously. It retains less moisture, forcing more pumping during droughts. It generates more surface runoff, amplifying floods, and it loses organic matter, reducing crop yields. Cotton productivity dropped 50 to 60% after Storm Daniel.
So the path to change that problem is based on our solution core principle: fewer cubic meters per ton of output without collapsing farm income. That's extremely important for this region. We call this a water for productive regime. We have three main pillars. The first pillar, governance. We implement water budgets by zone and by seasons in cubic meters per hectare with an automatic drought triggers. The institutional models are called California's SGMA and Australia's Murray-Darling, both reversed crises in comparison basis. The second pillar is the digital advisory plus a satellite monitoring. This works through weekly recommendations via an app or SMS that's combined with satellite-based evapotranspiration data. At scale, the cost drops significantly from 4.3 to 1.3 euros per hectare. The third pillar is about the irrigation modernization. And we have a critical point here. The farmer does not pay out of his pocket, and this modernization is financed through energy and pumping savings of 40 to 100 euros per hectare per year, plus a performance bonus for verified water savings. But we also have an ecological component. Notice that the water efficiency addresses extraction, but does not address floods. For that, we develop a replicable package that we call sponge workers based on benchmarks that are composed by cover crops, buffer strips, restored wetlands, and terracing. So in this region, we face two main challenges. The first is drought, and the second is soil damage caused by floods. Because of this, we developed technologies that not only address drought, but also minimize the impact of flooding. Over time, we began to see floods as part of the solution. So we create mechanisms to store flood water to use during the dry seasons. And we also develop mechanisms to minimize the damage of all these floods caused to the soil. But also we have an impact at scale that's directly reducing the 3.5 billion euro reconstruction burden for events like Daniel. And the cost comparison is decisive. The program costs 143 euros per hectare per year, or about 10 euros per kilogram of nitrogen reduced. That's treating contaminated drinking waters costs between 0.81 and 1.16 euros per cubic meters. In this context, prevention is orders of magnitude, cheaper than any remediation. The solution exists and are cost effective. The question now is how to fund them sustainably, and Pedro will answer for you.
All right, so the critical question for any water infrastructure project is, what happens when the grants run out? We evaluated two models. First, Model A, that is a public-led, 100% grant dependent. The European Union or national government funds CapEx, and low tariffs cover only OEM, that is operational and maintenance. This is the standard in Greek water projects. The risk is clear and documented. When the funding cycle ends, maintenance collapses. This is exactly what has already happened in Thessaly. We selected Model B, blended finance with pay for performance. The structure works, with public grants covering upfront investment, a smart tariff with three components, a fixed charge for OEM, a variable charge per cubic meter consumed, and a social voucher for vulnerable farmers, generates recovering revenue. And private concessional capital comes in upfront, recovered through verified water savings. 4 reasons for this choice. First, the European Union Framework Directive requires cost recovery. Model A does not comply with it. Second, the European water sector 3 T's principle, that is tariffs, taxes, and transfers, require all three resources to close the financial gap. Third, the social voucher projects low-income farmers without breaking OEM revenue following the Chilean model. And fourth, blended finance only works with credible data, which reinforces the need to invest in measurement infrastructure first. Our financial evaluation considers a 10-year plan for 20,000 of hectares. We evaluated an ERR of 18% with a payback in 5 years, and for that a BCR of 2.4, resulting in a positive NPV that indicates that the project creates value. To validate our analysis, we performed a sensitivity analysis in bare, bull, and base scenarios that still have a strong NPV and ERR, as you can see in the slide. Our financial analysis concludes that our investment thesis makes sense and can be applied in Thessaly. Thank you. Here.
Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Pedro. Moving on to the risk and mitigation slide. No, please. The previous one. Yeah, this one. Our analysis identifies 6 risks across 3 categories. I'll focus on the most critical ones. The high capex and low farmer adoption create uncertainty to the project's future cash flows. But as mitigation for this, we propose a procurement with 15% contingency allied with fixed price contracts with early adopters in order to fund the project with off-take contracts. But our analysis shows that operational risks carry the highest combined probability and impact of measurement failure, and a bad governance policy. But to address this, we plan to apply performance legal contracts with measurement technologies. The macro risks also represents climate and political unforeseen events, which can be mitigated by the off-take contracts. Our solution is based on measurement infrastructure and governance policy, leading to a project that each euro invested avoids between 2 and 4 euros in flood damage, pumping costs, and crop losses. Address the 3 main Thessaly problems: water, soil, and governance. Next slide, please. Like Odysseus, we propose the way back, and we finish our case.
So concluding our business case, we understand that we have 3 main problems here: the floods, the soil capacity to absorb water, and the overusage of the water. To resolve that, we separate 2 independent solutions about governance, measuring the allocation system that it doesn't have limits in the core state, and the second that is about the funding system, that we propose a performance rate funding systems in which farmer needs to prove that the water savings measures the European Union sustainability metrics and needs to prove that it has social KPI metrics, leading to us makes Thessaly both sustainable and economically feasible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and congratulations for concluding your winter challenge, actually, this far. And I guess you're joining us from Brazil. It must be a little bit early there. Thanks for making it. Now let's go on to the questions from the jury. You will have around 10 minutes for the Q&A. Are there any questions? Who would like to start? I think John has a question. John, you may start.
Yeah, thank you very much. Guys, congratulations for your presentation. It is just a pretty soft question, but do you have in mind some possible stakeholders that would block that program that you are proposing? And if yes, are there any specific mechanisms that your proposals include in order to manage this resistance to change, maybe? You are on mute. You are on mute. We cannot hear you.
Oh, so we understand that the European Union, as an international organization composed by many countries, some countries that already has a strong agriculture environment and has leadership in this agriculture market could be not so open to the solution. But the mechanism that we propose to address this is because we have performance KPI metrics to the funding system. So if the project proves that it is sustainable and it's provide economic value to other countries and other stakeholders, I suppose that European Union and the other relevant stakeholders are going to approve the project because it already has a past cash flows that proves the project value.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and thank you guys for answering the question. I think we have another question from Konstantinos.
Hello, everybody. Again, guys, congratulations. It was a very good presentation, actually. I have one question that has to do with funding. If I understood correctly, you chose Model B, blended funding, right?
Exactly.
This includes financing from banks?
Yes, but we consider... Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't. I'm trying to see. I don't know if I missed it. I'm trying to see if there was somewhere calculating the streams of the money coming in order to pay back the banking loan, because it's a fantastic project, and it's definitely going to do good to the local economy and to the environment as a whole. But if it has to be funded by banks, I don't know if I missed somewhere the streams of money coming in and how they're going to come in order to pay back the bank loan. That was my question.
So basically, to analyze the bank opportunity cost, we use a sensitivity analysis for discount rate, and we consider that we are going to take fund from the Greek sovereign fund. So basically, in the European Union Bank, we have a specific type of funding that provide us with 8% of opportunity cost of discount rate funding. So how we consider this bank funding is that the bank are going to provide us infrastructure contracts, offtake contracts, and are considering this in the discount rate. So what we did is, because we are going to the bank, we are going to take the funding with an 8% discount rate that is already happening in infrastructure projects in Greek, and we are going to have an offtake contract for 10 years that are going to provide as a high priority clause for the bank that the main revenue of the project needs to pay the bank first. So the bank doesn't have a default risk for us because we have offtake contract that puts them in a high priority, and we don't have funding problems because we're having a low discount rate based on the infrastructure project. Did I answer your question properly?
Yes, thank you. I'm covered. Thank you.
Thank you all. I think we might have one more question and we have time for it. I think Jordan, do you have a question?
My question was answered within the previous response. Great job, guys. It is very early in Brazil, but I was gonna ask specifically about the MPV and what was your discount rate and where did you get the data from? But I guess I glossed over the resource during your presentation. So I see it now. So yes, thank you. Great presentation.
Since we have half a minute, can I ask just a soft question?
Go ahead, John. Yeah.
And why did they choose to name the team like Odyssey?
Basically, we have a common practice of name our teams with famous persons' names, and we choose Odysseus for this IO Winter Challenge. We didn't know that there was going to be a Greek case, so we were very happy when we know that. And we tried the storytelling of Link Odysseus' path to home with Thessaly coming back to sustainability with economic feasibility.
Nice. Thank you. What a coincidence.
That's a very nice coincidence. So I guess there are no more questions from the jury. So congratulations, guys. You've made it this far. You should be proud of yourselves, and you did a great job in the presentation. I guess we'll have to wait for the final results now. And next, I would like to invite Eva to call for the next team.
So first of all, guys, well done. I actually really enjoyed looking at the presentation because there was a lot of analytics going on, lots of complex numbers, and I think you guys did a really good job. So be proud of yourselves. And now I would like to invite up the team of Daya Wolves of Wall Street from India. Please make yourself known, open your cameras, don't be shy, it's okay if you're in your pajamas. And I also wish you good luck. Let's do this. Let's see what you've got to show us and all of us out here. Anyone would like to say something? Anyone from the team want to say hello?
Yeah.
There we go.
Looking forward to presenting and giving you guys our opinion on this situation. We've worked really hard and we're so grateful for this opportunity. So we hope that you enjoy our presentation as much as we enjoyed working on it. So we can just get started with screen sharing and presenting.
Wonderful. Good luck. And whenever you say so, your time will start.
Groundwater accounts for roughly 25% of total annual freshwater worldwide, with about 69% of this consumption driven by agriculture. This is not just a water issue, it's an economic stability issue, a productivity issue, and a long-term equity issue. Good evening, I'm Ria, and I'm joined by Alina, Yuvraj, Ahan, and Zayan, and together we are the DIA Wolves of Wall Street. Today, we present PIRUS, our program to solve the water crisis in Thessaly.
Thessaly's Pineos River Basin faces severe water stress, with irrigation accounting for over 91% of annual water demand, largely driven by groundwater abstraction. PIRUS is a 10-year basin-scale reform and investment program that aims to correct this structural misallocation across 10,700 square kilometers. Under realistic assumptions, the program generates 112 million euros in annual net benefits and a net present value of approximately 0.57 billion euros at a 6% social discount rate, achieving a benefit to cost ratio of 1.8 and having an IRR between 10 to 12% while simultaneously delivering environmental and social benefits. Our strategy rests on 3 pillars: upgrading irrigation efficiency, deploying 200 plus sponge works, and leveraging digital infrastructure and tariff reform to strengthen basin governance. Key strengths include scalability, measurability, and SDG alignment. However, coordination complexity and administrative costs are weaknesses. Overall, PIRUS represents a financially viable and sustainable pathway to reducing water stress and strengthening long-term basin governance by 2036.
The core issue in Thessaly is not simply water scarcity. It is structural economic misallocation driven by groundwater over-extraction. Agriculture accounts for 91% of total water demand, creating deep structural water dependence. As aquifer levels decline, pumping becomes more expensive, energy costs rise, land value weakens, and natural capital erodes. This is not just environmental degradation, it's macroeconomic fragility. At its foundation, this is a market failure. Farmers make extraction decisions based on private costs, such as electricity, while the broader social costs of depletion remain underpriced. As shown in the diagram, private marginal cost lies below social marginal costs, leading to over-extraction beyond the socially optimal level. This failure is reinforced by price distortion. Water is underpriced relative to scarcity, weakening incentives for efficiency investment. When water remains artificially cheap, continued abstraction becomes a rational short-term decision. We also observe distributional inequality. Larger firms extract a disproportionate share of groundwater, accelerating depletion, while smaller farmers bear the burden of declining aquifers. This concentration increases both environmental pressure and systemic risk. Climate variability further amplifies the problem. Depleted aquifers reduce the basin's ability to buffer droughts and absorb floods, magnifying crop losses, infrastructure damage, and soil erosion. Water mismanagement multiplies climate risk. Finally, government weaknesses and political constraints limit reform. Monitoring and enforcement remain insufficient, and farmers represent a powerful voting bloc. Reform must therefore be carefully sequenced, beginning with monitoring and infrastructure before transitioning to volumetric pricing. In summary, the Sali faces interconnected economic, environmental, and institutional distributional failures that require integrated structural reform.
I'll be breaking down the financial viability of Pyrus. Using conservative assumptions, a 6% discount rate, 20-year horizon, and modest productivity gains, we stress-tested financial viability. The total capital expenditure is 708 million projected, mainly 290 million euros for network efficiency, 193 million euros for on-farm modernization, and 150 million euros for sponge-based solutions. Today, the basin withdraws 2.81 billion cubic meters annually at 55% efficiency. Raising efficiency to 75% reduces withdrawals by 940 million cubic meters per year. This generates 111.4 million euros in net annual economic benefits, as we can see, driven by energy savings, O&M reductions, productivity gains, and avoided damages. Discounted over 20 years, the total benefits equates to 1.28 billion euros. After capital expenditure deductions, the net present value is projected at 576 million euros. The benefit to cost ratio is 1.81, and the interest rate return is 11.8%, nearly doubling the discount rate. Even under pessimistic scenarios, the project remains strongly positive. Financially, Pyrus is clearly value creating.
Now we move on to the implementation strategy. The first phase is the foundation phase. This runs from 2026 to 2029. Here, we establish governance and digital systems by creating the Basin Facility, which manages funding and performance tracking. We also launch about 50 SpongeWorks pilot sites in order to demonstrate that nature-based solutions actually work and produce measurable results. The second phase is the scale-up phase. This is the part where most of the investment happens. Here, we upgrade roughly 75% of the water network and convert around 80% of farms to efficient drip irrigation. This is where efficiency gains and reliable revenues are created. Phase 3 focuses on optimization. Once more than 200 sites are operational, we shift from construction to performance, improving water allocation, resilience, and financial returns. But financially, we are ditching the traditional taxpayer pays all model for one that is more blended. It's called a blended finance facility. By using public grants in order to protect investors from early losses, we attract private money and cut the government's budget by 75%. The system ultimately pays for itself through smart water tariffs and performance payments tied to verified sustainability outcomes, generating a strong annual surplus and creating an investment-grade, self-sustaining model.
I'll be taking you guys through the financial justification for option B. In the status quo, annual withdrawals are a staggering 2.81 billion meter cube with a total service cost of 307 million. However, post-Pyrus modernization, they both drop by around 27%. As a result, we save 83 million annually as a result of capital deepening. Furthermore, because this option utilizes layered blended finance, we are able to achieve a grant leverage ratio of 2.5x, meaning that for every €1 of public money, 2.50 euros is leveraged in total investment. Our revenue is split into two streams, the first being a two-part increasing block tariff, 0.03 euros per meter cube for lifeline usage and 0.055 for any consumption above that, plus a fixed service charge. This generates 100 million euros from farmers with a 90% collection efficiency. The second stream is a performance-based payments, with 18.8 million made from verified water savings and 4.8 made from land degradation mitigation. This results in 23.6 million in total PPBs and 123.6 million in grand total inflows. Total outflow is only 37.2 million, with 18 million in concessional debt. This results in an exceptional 6.9x debt service coverage ratio, way above the 1.5x requirement that commercial banks typically require. The 10-year cumulative cash flow indicates financial break-even achieved in year 9 at 42 million, with the surplus going as far as 172 million in year 10. All these factors play a role in justifying bankability, with these four in the bottom right being the most major points.
No large-scale reform succeeds without strong risk management, so mitigation is built directly into our program design. Firstly comes the technical adoption risk. Farmers may hesitate to use precision irrigation technology. We address this through training hubs and demonstration farms that show clear productivity and cost benefits. The second is a financial risk, where low fee collection could affect debt repayment. Fixed charges are linked directly to existing subsidy systems and supported by smart metering in order to improve compliance. The third is an institutional and political risk. Coordination problems between national and local authorities can weaken enforcement, so we established a legally empowered basin authority. This is reinforced through binding groundwater abstraction caps as well. Finally, climate risk is reduced through sponge works, nature-based solutions that improve water retention, alongside index-based insurance that protects revenue during extreme droughts. Together, these measures keep the system financially stable, enforceable, and resilient to climate uncertainty.
For a more comprehensive analysis, we looked at Paris under option B through an ESG perspective, focusing on the key stakeholders that this program impacts. Environmentally, the program directly links financial incentives to verified water savings and soil restoration. This ensures that environmental outcomes are measurable and rewarded. Over 200 SpongeWorks nature-based interventions support land restoration and flood mitigation, while smart metering and allocation enforcement ensure that groundwater abstraction is genuinely reduced. However, some ecological benefits, such as biodiversity recovery, are more difficult to quantify and may receive less emphasis. In addition, aquifer recovery will take time and remains vulnerable to extreme drought conditions. Socially, option B reduces pressure on taxpayers by leveraging grants and blended financing rather than relying solely on sovereign funding, whereas performance-based payments align farmer incentives with water efficiency goals. The investment is also expected to generate significant employment during implementation, alongside longer-term roles like water management and ecosystem governance. The Lorenz curve analysis shows improved equity in groundwater distribution, with the Gini coefficient falling from 0.39 to 0.315, indicating a more balanced allocation among users. From a governance standpoint, Pierce establishes a dedicated basin facility insulated from annual budget cycles. Its blended financing structure improves risk allocation and limits fiscal exposure, achieving approximately 2.5 times grant leverage. Crucially, payments are dispersed only when outcomes are verified. Therefore, under realistic assumptions, Pierce is sustainable, socially equitable, and entirely feasible in solving the tragedy of the commons, justifying it as a potential solution.
Keeping everything in mind, strong returns, bankable structure, and profound SDG impact, we believe option B is fully justified in its entirety. We, the DI Wolves of Wall Street, are extremely grateful for this opportunity that allowed us to think critically like economists with real-world examples, and we now humbly open ourselves to any and all questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So well done, guys. This presentation was very, very nice. And I just want to pitch in for the questions that I like that there was a lot of school economics theory, but also some really advanced mathematics. And I like the blend. So very well done. We definitely see where you put the work in. So juries, please go ahead. What would you like to ask the team?
Should I go first? I guess.
Yes, I think
really
Jordan,
I really liked the implementation strategy. I was reading a lot on the slide and I saw how you want to get your finances, but I didn't really understand, guys, where you're going, like where they're gonna go throughout the period. But I saw a lot on how you're gonna get them. That is why I'm asking you, where are we gonna spend this money throughout the whole period of implementation?
Right. So, sir, as we can see that so it's broken down as the cost into the irrigation network efficiency upgrades because that's one of the core pillars of Pyrus. Then the on-farm modernization packages and the sponge works that was with over 200 sites, right? And that was all part of the pillars of Pyrus, and that's primarily where our funding goes to, as we can see, 290 million, 193 million, and 150 million, right? Primarily. And again, how it's going to be spent over a period of time. In our timeline, in our phase 1, it's focused on government and digital scaffolding. Here's where we initially start building SpongeWorks sites. And so this is our phase one, where we're spending 180 million euros. And in our phase 2, where we're scaling up into more SpongeWorks sites and building out more rollout and conversion, this is heavy lifting, right? This is the main part of the project through the median, right? And this is heavy lifting because we complete 75% of the network upgrades here and convert 80% of the farms to drip irrigation. as for the first pillar of Pyrus. And here's where we're spending 380 million euros. At the very end of the program is the optimization. This is where we're finally finishing off with the efficiency upgrades, and we're finishing all 200 plus sites for SpongeBook efficiencies, and ending off with a net present value and benefits, right? To hit our break even and to go into profit financially as well. And that's where we're spending 148 million euros. Total is 708 million euros, as shown in the total capital expenditure as well. So that's how it's broken down by timeline as well. Hope that
Yes,
answers
thank you. Great. I'm very content.
All right, that was a good response. Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you so much for the team for the response. And now I'd like to call up Alexander, because I think you also have an important question for the team. So please go
Yeah,
ahead.
guys, thank you for the presentation. Actually, part of my question was answered on the previous question, but still, could you please help me to understand what main milestones do you see in making this project work? And through those milestones, how do they help you to mitigate the risks in the timeline that you have presented?
Okay, right. So as I already broke down the expenditures, right? So now let's look at the benefits and how they play over the timeline, right? So the core benefits that we talked about are the energy cost reduction, obviously, as 940 million cubic meters of water are saved as a projection, right? Based on conservative assumptions as we can see in the slide, as well as the operations and management savings, again with the same 940 million cubic meters, and we multiply this by the projected cost per cubic meter. And so our total energy savings are 75.2 million euros, 9.4 million euros. Then we get yield productivity gains. So more productivity because we're improving irrigation efficiency, right? As one of the core pillars of Pyrus. That is where we get yield stability gains. Then we have avoided damages, obviously because of soil erosion, and over extraction. This leads to damage of soil, right? So this avoidance will also save us 16 million euros. Now, where all these gross benefits, they add up to 125.6 million euros, right? Now, where we see, as per the timeline, where we see these benefits to be playing in is most likely during the scale up and the optimization phase of the program. Where all of the benefits are finally realized is obviously towards the end of the program, right? Because we project the life of the program to be around 20 years, as mentioned before. And so towards the end is when we see our benefits completely getting into play, and we getting a net annual surplus of 86.5 million euros, right? And that's when we break even at year 9, as we can see on our cost benefit graph. Hope that answers your
I would
question.
also like to add, sorry, that in the first phase, the first three, the major milestones that we're kind of achieving are establishing the basin facility, the 50 sponge work sites, and then the tariff pilots. So how this kind of mitigates the risk is, firstly, it solves the whole coordination failure risk. So because it creates a more legally empowered agency. It also reduces the climate risk because it proves that nature-based solutions actually can hold water, and they can show like proper results. It also mitigates the more political and financial risk because it allows for farmers to see kind of the true cost without actually having to pay yet. The second phase, the major milestones are the full metering coverage and the 80% farm converting 80% of farms into drip irrigation. So what that does is it creates financial under recovery because you can't bill what you can't measure. So it kind of ensures a 90% collection rate and protects debt service. Then also the drip irrigation, it kind of mitigates the technical adoption risk because by the time the limits kind of drop, the farmers already have the technical requirements that are needed to grow and to grow their businesses further. And the last phase, which is the optimization phase, so we're kind of the major milestone there is to ensure that we achieve our surplus. So it reduces the bankability risk. So it proves that the model in itself is self-sustaining, and it allows for a more kind of investment grade it's like success, and it's easily replicable in other scenarios as well.
Exactly. Yeah. There.
And also, sorry, just one last thing to add is the debt service coverage ratio is 6.8 to 6.9, which is like far exceeding the 1.5x minimum required by commercial lenders as well.
Yeah.
All right, that'll be it then. That was an amazing response. Thank you, the team. Thank you for the question. And now I'd like to give the floor to the next judge, which will be Konstantinos. will be your question for the team, and let's see what they have.
Thank you. A couple of comments regarding the presentation, then the question afterwards. I like the SWOT analysis that you're having in there. It's a little bit, it seems to me, a little bit condensed in terms of the layout, the way you put the numbers and everything there. It's a little bit difficult to follow. I was trying hard to follow it. Although you have the necessary information there, but it seems to me a little bit condensed. Just these two comments that I wanted to make. And one thing that the question is that you have done your research and you most probably have seen in the news what's going on in Greece when the farmers don't agree about something or about a policy or whatever takes place in the market or in their lands. Although you mention it as a risk there, I saw that you're mentioning the resistance as a risk. I don't know if you mentioned, if you have made, let's say, a plan or something on how to, not to mitigate, but to minimize this risk. Do you plan to do some education to the farmers in order to understand, to explain them the benefits of the whole project, or how do you plan to deal with that risk? That was my question. Thank you.
So, like as a team, we are highly cognizant of the fact that in Greece, water management is also highly political. But I think that mostly what happens when farmers disagree is that it creates political pressure and it also creates resource depletion. And we talked about political pressure as we talked about mitigating the risk of political pressure as well when we were talking about reinforcement and things like that, and also political resistance. So what we do is we have a 12-month shadow billing phase, which is in phase 1. And so we talk about how instead of immediate fines, farmers have shadow bills. So that kind of shows them what they would have paid, and it also gives them an entire year to adjust their behavior. And so that doesn't give them an immediate financial penalty. There's also voluntary participation, which is because we start off in a more kind of phased kind of plan. So what we talk about is that the implementation, it starts with more voluntary participation rather than enforced. So obviously there will be less friction against the ideas in general. And then also we are as a team, we've ensured that all of our policies are radically transparent. So they ensure that we use a public digital dashboard, and we make sure that it's that all the groups of the community favor the kind of idea in general, if that makes sense. I hope that answered your question.
Moreover, I just want to add that because we are also going to be using performance-based payments, we will be rewarding farmers with financial incentive to actually listen and implement the solution that we have suggested. So this makes conservation financially rewarding, which is also what I believe would help to mitigate this risk.
Yeah, and furthermore to add, like in the issue analysis, I discussed how the political, they're very powerful voting bloc, which would influence the political reforms that are implemented. So by allowing monitor and infrastructure developments to allow the farmers to see the benefits of these drip irrigation strategies and increased efficiency themselves, rather than starting with immediate abstraction caps and tariffs, this will allow them to become more adjusted to the process and acknowledge the benefits better, therefore mitigating the risk of political resistance.
Right, exactly.
Also, I just want to say thank you so much for your feedback, and we are completely receptive to the fact that the format of our PowerPoint may have been overwhelming. We are nothing if not lifelong learners, and we intend to implement your feedback in the coming competitions that we participate in. So thank you so much for your suggestion.
All right,
Thank you.
teams. First of all, very, very, very well done. So I think it's a presentation, definitely a lot of content, but we can see that you've worked really hard. So well done. Of course, be proud of yourself. Unfortunately, juries, especially Linda, will have to move on because we're running out of time, but you will be given priority in the next round. And thank you, team. Please do relax. Well done today. And now I would like to call to the stage the next team, which will be the top chefs from China. Welcome on board. Are you
Thank you
excited?
so much.
There we go. How are you doing today? Are you feeling ready to present?
We're doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Great to hear.
We're a bit nervous, but I think we are ready.
You can do this. Don't worry. I'm sure your work is great. So whenever you're ready, please do let us know. We shall share your presentation soon. Oh, so you'll share it. And whenever you're ready, please start. And that's when your time will start. Good luck. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I'll start now. Hi everyone, today we're presenting our business case for Pyrus, a basin-level irrigation reform strategy for the Pinions River Basin in Sicily. And our presentation is organized into 4 sections: economy case analysis, environmental and technical context, financial model and evaluation, and governance, stakeholders, and risks.
Ryan?
I choose my microphone. So in this section, we'll explain why the Pinions River Basin face a structural water economic trap and why blended finance facility provide a more sustainable solution than a traditional public funding. Sicily contains between 55,000 to 65,000 agricultural holdings or farms, which is roughly 1/10 of the Greece total farm. The average farm size is only 6.9 hectares, and around 30,000 to 40,000 families depend directly on agriculture. However, many small farms operate with thin margins and rely heavily on subsidies. Agriculture accounts for 93% of total basin water consumption, and about 84% of demand comes from groundwater abstraction. As the groundwater level declines, pumping depth increase and the energy cost boost, directly compressing farm profitability. At the same time, fragmented institutional responsibilities and complex regulation will increase coordination costs and weaken long-term investment planning. The basin is now trapped in a reinforcing negative cycle. The over-extraction exceeds recharge, which raises pumping costs, and higher energy costs reduce net farm income, leaving farmers unable to invest in efficiency upgrades. Governance fragmentation also discourages external capital participation, and the result is persistent inefficiency, continued groundwater depletion, and vulnerability to climate shocks. So Plan A relies on traditional public funding and it enables faster capital access and familiar infrastructure planning. However, it places a full fiscal burden on the government, exposes the project to political turnover risk, and provides limited long-term incentives for water conservation or behavioral change at the farm level. Option B introduces a blended finance basin facility. Farmers can benefit through improved soil productivity and performance-based environmental incentives. Fiscal burden is shared across grants, concessional capital, and outcome funds. Although the capital structuring process requires more preparation, it embeds accountability and aligns environmental outcome with financial sustainability. So comparing to option A, the blended model distributes risk, strengthen monitoring, reduce long-term public exposure, and crowd in institutional capital. While it's slower to launch, it could produce stronger structural return and long-term resilience.
Okay, so for next section, we now examine the hydrological and technical realities that justify intervention. Annual water demand is approximately 1.3 billion cubic meters, with 91% used for irrigation. About 84% derives from groundwater abstraction. Historical SPI 12 drought data confirms repeated severe drought episodes. The basin compensates rainfall variability through pumping, accelerating depletion and energy expenditure. Between 15 and 30% of water is lost during canal conveyance. At farm level, surface irrigation operates at roughly 60% efficiency, sprinklers around 75%, and drip irrigation near 90%. When losses are combined across stages, effective productive water use may fall to approximately 40 to 50% of total diversion. This means nearly half of extracted water does not generate crop output. Our proposal addresses upstream leakage, field level inefficiencies, and basin retention capacity simultaneously.
The implementation roadmap moves from building 2026 to 28 to scaling 29 to 32, and finally the phase of maturity 2033 to 36. As efficiency measures expand across hectares and canal kilometers, water savings increase non-linearly and financial gains scale accordingly. Performance is tracked through environmental, operational, and financial indicators. Targets include a 15% improvement in basin efficiency by 2036, measurable groundwater abstraction reduction, verified cubic meters saved annually, and sustained cost recovery ratios. We now move on to the financial architecture that enables Paris to move from a technical intervention to bankable basin facility. This model operates through three capital layers. First, public grants finance monitoring systems, environmental flows, sponge measures, and WUA capacity building, covering public good investments that generate limited direct revenue. Concessional loans fund canal modernization, precision irrigation conversion, and network upgrades, investments that improve measurable productivity and supports repayments. Results-based payments form the third layer and are dispersed only after independent verification of water savings or groundwater reductions, ensuring accountability and performance alignment. Funds flow from EU instruments, concessional lenders, and outcome facilities into a basin-level special purpose vehicle. The SPV operates with a multi-stakeholder board and independent verification agent. Investment is dispersed toward infrastructure and efficiency upgrades. Repayment flows back through three streams: tiered irrigation tariffs, avoided pumping energy costs, and performance-based payments. This closed-loop design ensures transparency, traceability, and enforceability, strengthening investor confidence. Under pure public funding, fiscal exposure is really centralized and monitoring may be under-resourced. In contrast, the blending model aligns financial return with environmental performance. Risk is thus layered. Grants absorb public good risk, concessional debt carries infrastructure risk at affordable pricing, and outcome funds only pay for verified performance. So this structure enhances capital efficiency and long-term sustainability. The concessional loan of 120 million euros carries 2% interest and a 20-year tenure, resulting in approximately 7.34 million euros of annual debt service. With annual irrigation volume of roughly 600 million cubic meters, a surcharge of 1.2 cents per cubic meter supports repayments. Estimated energy savings of 2.6 to 4.4 million euros annually offset a substantial portion of debt service. Base case debt service coverage exceeds 1.3, and even under stress assumptions remains above 1.15, maintaining bankability. Total investment reaches 175 million euros phased through 2036. By mid-cycle, annual tariff revenue stabilizes between 15 and 18 million euros. Combined with outcome payments, and energy savings, the project generates 8 to 10 million euros surplus after debt service. This marks the transition from externally supported reform to a financially self-sustaining governance system.
Okay, so strong financial design must be matched by credible governance. This section outlines how stakeholder alignment and risk allocation anchor long-term implementation. Farmers are primary users and beneficiaries. Their support depends on affordability, safeguards, and visible productivity gains. Water user associations manage local distribution networks and receive technical capacity building. Regional and national governments coordinate policy alignment and EU financing channels. EU institutions supply capital under strict compliance requirements. Private investors participate because risk allocation is transparent and repayment is performance-linked. Next, stakeholders such as EU institutions, regional government, and WAs hold high influence and strong alignment with project objectives. Potential resistance may arise from conservative farmers. Early pilots, clear communication of tariff impacts, and transparent performance dashboards are essential for building confidence and mitigating opposition. The tariff model balances equity with viability. Vulnerable households consuming under 9,000 cubic meters annually receive subsidized pricing to protect livelihood. Medium-scale farmers operate at full cost recovery. Large commercial users pay above cost rates, incentivizing efficiency and cross-subsidizing smaller users. This ensures both financial sustainability and social stability. Risks span technical underperformance, environmental shortfall, social resistance, climate volatility, political change, financial overrun, and institutional weakness. Mitigation tools include pilot testing, adaptive management, third-party verification, contingency reserves, EU alignment agreements, and WA performance-based support. So risk is allocated to the actor best able to manage it and ensuring resilience. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you for listening. And this page are our reference.
Thank you.
First of all, well done, team. I love the presentation because I think it was really clear, it was really straightforward and to the point. I think we can now start with the jury questions. So I can see that Alexander has a question. So please do go ahead first.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect to be the first. Guys, thank you for the presentation. It was well structured. I loved the understandable slides that you've presented in comparison with many previous ones. I have a question about the flow of the implementation, about the money flow of the implementation of your idea of this project. So firstly, the simple question, when the end user starts to pay money for realization of this project? Like what is the timeline for the end user to start paying more? You can answer, and so then we go on.
So basically, as the fee structure was designed, we would divide the user to three scenarios, the small farm, the medium scale farm, and the large scale farm. So as the whole timeline, I think it depends on the effect of the whole project. Like if it achieve the specific goal of like how many water use does the farm saving, and they need to they can get like more support from the bank or investor or EU. But if they didn't achieve this goal, they need to pay more tariff for us to like to give us the uh the 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 fund to continue this project. And this can also ensure the final effect of the whole project.
So would it be correct to say that on the stage one of the project, they do not pay, they do not start to pay, the end user do not start to pay?
Yes, just to build onto that, in our building phase, there is going to be no major tariff increases. So infrastructure, that's when the infrastructure upgrades and building begins. And so farmers are not going to be expected to pay at that moment when efficiency has still not seen significant rises. But in a years 3 to 4, during the early scaling phase, then we're going to introduce our modest surcharge of 1.2 cents per cubic meter. And then that's when efficiency gains can begin offsetting plumbing costs. And finally, from year 5 onwards, that has reached maturity. And then we're going to implement full cost recovery structure and repaying back all the concessional loans. Yeah.
So do I understand correctly that in the upcoming phases, the price of the water usage will be growing, referable like in the same rate that it will be able to recover for the cost of the project? So the end user will be repaying basically the most of the costs of the project realization. Is this correct?
Yes, so our 175 million euro figure for total investments is split into 55 million from direct like grants from the EU, while the remaining 120 million are concessional loans, which have relatively modest like interest rates, which makes it realizable and feasible for farmers to pay back through tariffs.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that was a good response. Very well done on your side. That was a perfect question. And now I'd like to call the next jury up, which will be Linda. Please do ask the team away.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. And first of all, congratulations, making to the finals. And it's always lovely to see Chinese teams here. And well, my question is actually very simple, and it's kind of hypothetical question. And I just want to make us to understand the significant point of your project. So my question is, if your budget will be cut by 30%, what part of the project would you remove first?
Um, hold on. So, our basically infrastructure upgrades are split into various phases and components. So first, there is one source of loss, and that is the conveyance loss. So after extraction of underground water sources, there are going to be approximately 15 to 30% of the water that is lost. So that is a major contributor to the inefficiency that farmers currently face and water waste. So I think that is going to be the one that we really emphasize and conserve. Um, and other strategies such as like drop irrigation, which minimizes the amount of water actually needed to like provide to all the crops. I think because that requires a larger scale implementation, while the conveyance is just focused on large water sources, the latter can be kind of scaled back and wait until more funding arrives. But first of all, the conveyance loss needs to be fixed.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, the conveyance, the first part in this slide would be the most important, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you. And yeah.
All right, that was a very, very interactive jury and the team question asking session. Now I'd like to call the next jury with their other question, which will be Christo. Please, it's your stage.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you for your presentations. It was amazing. It was really simple to follow. I understand already the plan that you have in mind, and I am quite convinced that it is realistic. I also admire that you worked really well on the risks that do exist, but I'm not sure if I understood correctly how you deal with those risks. What are the measures that you suggest to reduce risks, or at least to find a way to make any debt, because you said that you are going to ask for loans, to be easier to get repaid. So what are you doing to handle risk?
Yeah, so basically, you can see in the slides, like for the risk in different scenario, we all provide different mitigations. For example, for the technical, we are worried about irrigation upgrades underperform, so we will impose pilot testing and also the adaptive management and third-party verification, which means we can before officially impose this policy this project, we can already try to test whether it is effective for the in different scenario for all stakeholders. So for all this mitigation, they're both reasonable in the real world scenario and yes um
I
and I
think just
think
to add on to that, okay, continue, please.
no, you please.
All right. I think one of the strengths of option B, which is blended finance that we chose, is the source is not limited to just one, like public funding and grants, but it is rather multi-layered funding. And that allows us more flexibility and responsiveness to deal with any financial issues. And furthermore, our projections, we expect a 1.3 DSCR, which means that the money from the concessional loads can all pretty much be paid back on schedule. And even with conservative or like bad scenarios, it is around a 1.15. So we are confident in that eventually this project can be realized and in a timely manner as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I think we have time for just one more question. So please, Jordan, it's your stage. Go ahead and ask
Thank
the
you.
team away.
So first of all, great presentation. How you can make it a little bit better is to add the numbers of the slides. That would help a lot with the jury, and if you want the jury to love you, add the number on the slides next time, and that goes for every team. And I have just a question because I saw that the funding that you're requesting and that like you're not requesting but you're getting is so much lower compared to the other teams. Do you think, I'm just asking you, do you think it's feasible that the project can be completed within these budget constraints? Because we saw that the other teams are requesting around 800 mil. That is my question. Or maybe where are you getting the for example, technology or stuff to how are you sourcing the technology to get such a low cost of the project to make it only 200 million or around that?
I would say that our lower funding request basically stems from us having a narrower or relatively narrower focus because we would focus capital only on high impact efficiency upgrades that directly reduce water loss and pumping costs. And we also phase implementation starting with like priority zones before scaling, especially the conveyance methods that I talked about, which are really important. And I think public grants can cover non-revenue environmental components, and so loan capital is also not diluted in that way.
That is in a sense what I wanted to hear. So yes, thank you. Thank you guys. Great presentation.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
well. Does the juries have any other questions? Anyone? No? Okay, in that case, well done, the juries, with big observation and lots of questions. Well done, team. This is a very nice presentation, very visual. I like the different color texture, and generally well done, guys. Like, well done for making it to the final round. And I'd like to thank you for your time for the presentation, and I wish you luck with the upcoming results. And as of the
Thank you
moment,
very much.
as the moment, we're going to welcome the next team, all the way from Sweden, named Vanguard. Welcome to the stage. How are you today? How are you feeling?
Good, good. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Don't worry. How are you feeling? You ready? A little bit nervous? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right. In that case, whenever you're ready, please do start. That's when your time will also start. Good luck, and we're here for you.
All right. Hi, I'm Simba.
I'm Alex.
And we're Team Vanguard. In September 2023, Storm Daniel dropped a full year's worth of rain on Thessaly in just 3 days. 17 people died, 100,000 livestock drowned, and 3.5 billion euros were gone. But here's what most people miss. Thessaly's real crisis isn't just floods. It's a region that floods catastrophically and is running out of water at the same time. Paris solves both. We're proposing a 1.2 billion euro blended investment that delivers a 4-to-1 return and returns Thessaly into Europe's model for climate resilient agriculture.
So moving on.
Yeah.
The slides. Yeah. So moving on to our executive summary. Is Pyrrhus worth doing? Economically, yes. A 4.1 to 1 benefit cost ratio, which is benchmarked against what Spain actually achieved. Socially, yes. 10,000 jobs created and protection for over 688,000 people. Environmentally, yes. 30 to 60% less water consumed and restored flow for the Pinios. And how do we pay for it? A blended finance plan is implemented, made up of 55% EU grants, 20% from Greek government, 25% private capital with performance trigger. Money only flows when water is actually saved. So the investment plan goes into 3 key pillars: the irrigation modernization, nature-based sponge solutions, and finally, the government's reform. Each one is necessary and none is sufficient alone.
So here's the scare we're dealing with. Thessaly uses over 90% of its water for agriculture. Groundwater that used to sit at 2 to 5 meters, farmers now have to drill past 250 meters to access it. Storm Daniel caused over €3 billion in damage, and Thessaly has seen 90 plus flood events since the 1500s, yet it's simultaneously running dry.
So 4 key failures drive this. First, the total dependence on agriculture. 95% of water, 250,000 hectares, are irrigated, nearly a fifth of Greek agricultural output. Second, the basin pumps 800 million cubic meters a year from aquifers that can only sustainably give about 590 million. The math just doesn't work. Third, the pipe networks lose half the water before it reaches a farm. Half. And illegal wells make it worse because nobody actually enforces the rules. Fourth, the only way water exits the basin is through the Pineios River, which is hemmed in by the mountains. When a storm hits, there's no way for the water to go.
Our strategy has 3 layers, and we call them reduce, absorb, and enforce. Reduce, convert 250,000 hectares from flood irrigation to drip, cut water losses by 30 to 60%, and switch to solar power pumping for the extra energy needs. Absorb, scale SpongeWorks' 19 proven sponge measures across 4,000 hectares and 47 kilometers of river corridor. These are 15 to 63% cheaper than concrete for the same flood protection. Enforce, an independent basin authority with real water pricing, real-time monitoring, and real enforcement against illegal wells. Efficiency reduces demand, nature buffers the extremes, and the governments make sure that the gains stick.
We're not guessing whether this works. Spain already did it. 1.7 million hectares modernized, 4.1 to 1 return in the Guadalquivir basin. Their funding split, roughly half public, a quarter private, and a quarter EU, which is almost exactly what we're proposing. But Spain also taught us what goes wrong. Energy consumption jumped 70% after modernization because pressurized drip systems needed power. Efficiency savings got partially eaten by increased usage, and that's where the enforced layer exists. You cannot modernize irrigation without fixing governance, or savings evaporate. Israel shows us the end state. Over 18 years, they've cut agricultural freshwater share from 64 to 35% while growing the economy. The key wasn't just technology. It was an independent water authority with real pricing and real enforcement, and that's our governance blueprint.
Quick numbers on Pillar 1. 250,000 hectares to convert. The full irrigation budget of 900 million covers drip conversion, canal lining for 400 kilometers, solar pumping, and IoT sensors. 30 to 60% water savings, 20 to 50% yield improvements, and the benchmark from Spain's Guadalquivir basin is 4.1 to 1. Even under pessimistic assumptions, the returns stay above 2.5. Pillar 2 is where Pyrus gets distinctive. We're not proposing nature-based solutions in the abstract here. We're scaling a project that's already operating in our basin. Buffer strip removes up to 70% of nitrates, terrace restoration cuts runoff by 70%, repair and restoration reduces peak flows by up to 30%, and NAIAD project showed that these approaches cost 15 to 63% less than great infrastructure for the equivalent protection. And these are documented results, not just projections here. The strategic move, Pyrus partners with SpongeWorks as its NBS delivery arm. That transforms 50 million in research funding into a permanent 100 million euro program, and we gain access to 28 partners and world-class technical capacity from Deltares and Leibniz. NBS approaches like those deployed in Norfolk have achieved a 6.7 to 1 return. Great infrastructure has failed this basin since the 1930s, and channelization couldn't stop Storm Daniel. So it's time to try what actually works.
So again, without governance, everything we just described gets consumed by the same patterns that created the crisis. So in order to mitigate this, we've implemented 4 reforms. An independent basin authority that takes water allocation out of politics. This includes using a full cost recovery pricing phased in over 5 years so smallholders can adjust. Cap and trade water rights that rewards water conservation. And enforcement against illegal wells through satellite monitoring and mandatory metering. Israel proved that this combination works, and they implemented correct prices, independent institutions, and actual enforcement. So our plan comes in 3 phases. Years 1 and 2 are the foundation phase, and we'll establish the basin authority and pilot nature-based solutions in 2 sub-basins, design the modernization plan. In years 3 through 5, this will be the scaling phase. We will convert half of the irrigated area and deploy full NBS, implementing price reform. Years 6 through 10 will complete the transformation and achieve full WFD compliance. Every phase is tracked against 5 key KPIs that double as the trigger for releasing finance tranches. And if we don't deliver, the money doesn't flow.
In terms of financing, we're proposing a 1.2 billion euro total investment plan, 55% EU, 20% government, and 25% private. 10-year BCR of approximately 4:1 and payback in about 6 years, NPV above 2.8 billion. We stress tested every key variable, for example, water prices, crop yields, co-financing rates, etc. Under the worst case, everything moves against us at once. The BCR still holds above 2.5. The full sensitivity tables are in the appendix, but the headline is very simple. This is a robust investment under any reasonable set of assumptions. We've also considered possible objections to this. Farmers say they can't afford a new system. Our response would be drip conversion is 75% funded by the EU and government pricing and the government before pricing kicks in. Their water bill stays flat because as volume drops and unit prices rises, nothing actually changes. The Greek government says no to fiscal space. Only 20% comes from the national budget. Water.Thes has already committed 1.6 billion to Thessaly's infrastructure. The EU worries Greece will fail compliance again. Performance-based tranches. No results means no money. Environmental groups worry modernization will increase total extraction. We cap abstraction at 590 million cubic meters, below the current 800 million, and we force it through metering.
So Thessaly produces nearly a fifth of Greece's agricultural output and feeds the nation. Without Pyrrhus, the basin faces water exhaustion within decades. In summary, our 1.2 billion investment plan saves against 3 billion plus in damages in the future. 19 sponge measures with a 6.7 to 1 NBS benchmark from Norfolk and a region that can become Europe's model for climate resilient agriculture. The Spongework Consortium is already in the basin. Water.Thes has committed 1.6 billion. The EU funding windows are still open, and Pyrrhus is the strategy that connects them. Here are our appendixes.
And
our citations.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and we look forward to answering some of the questions you may have.
Well done. So, team, first of all, as always, well done. This was a great presentation that I think lots of juries appreciated. We'll start right away with our round of questions. So please, Linda, go ahead first, because I think you definitely have a good question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eva. Well, first of all, congratulations. It's a really great presentation. I really love the style of your slides, and I love how you highlight your numbers and how you make things really well balanced, and it can be easily followed. Yeah, well done. I really love the executive summary at the very beginning. So I really love the style of like giving us the conclusion first. So my question is, I saw that in terms of the funding, I think you can go back to the slide of the funding. So I think nearly 25% are from private investors, right? Yeah, this one.
Yes.
Yeah, 25, nearly 300 million euros. So if suppose we are private investors, what do you think would be, how would you make the project more attractive to private investors because it consists of 25% of your fundings? What are the highlights that you would make to attract more private investors?
That's a really good question. We have to think about this. I think, yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, you can go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think water tariffs generate about 40 to 85 million per year, and that's very predictable. So inflation-linked cash flow backed by essential service demand is exactly what infrastructure investors are looking for. So, and because water doesn't go out of fashion. So that's one key aspect of it. Also, the 55% EU grant absorbed more than half of the capital risk upfront. So private investors aren't taking first dollar risk if the $1.2 billion project suddenly falls apart. And they're coming in behind 660 million in grant capital, which de-risks their position dramatically. And it's actually the same structure that made Spain's project attractive to private irrigation communities. And Additionally, I think for irrigator co-investment specifically, farmers aren't making a speculative bet, if you understand what I mean, because drip conversions deliver 30 to 60% lower water costs and about 20 to 50% higher yields from year one. So their co-investment actually pays for itself within 2 to 3 seasons. So I think that's a deal most farmers would voluntarily make.
Yeah, so another like attractive component is actually that we designed the policy so that 75% of the funds actually comes from the EU funding. So if the project doesn't succeed, it acts like a first loss buffer. So if the project underperforms, the public money takes the first hit. So the 25% of the private sector is a much safer bet. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, that was a good one. Well done handling the question, because I'll be honest, it was a little bit advanced. I was contemplating to give you a few minutes actually, but I think it's more interesting like this. So moving on to the next jury, their question. Alexander, please take the stage and let's see what they've got.
Guys, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I actually have two questions. One about the reduce part. You wanted to cut the water loss. And I want to understand, why do you think it was not made previously? Like, the idea is simple, yeah? We have so much water flowing away from the tubes, like half of it, but why wasn't it implemented in previous years?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I'll just have a little minute to think about it. So I guess like the logical answer would be that like historically the purpose of like the infrastructure was to make water flow like as efficient as possible, to maximize like to minimize the amount of time it takes in order for the water to reach to the farms and fields. So much of this efficiency wasn't taken into account for. So maximizing the infrastructure meant obviously there's going to be a few leaks and a few factors that are not considered, right? I mean,
Also, before there was no enforcement, so there was a lot of illegal wells, and I don't know if you know this, but illegal wells are basically free to pump. So when water is essentially free, there's zero economic incentive to conserve the water. So that's why they probably didn't want to implement the prices before this.
Great, and this leads to the second question I wanted to ask specifically. Those firms, they pay less or even do not pay at all, even like if they use the unregistered wells. So they have a very high incentive to keep it as is. They don't want to pay for this. So it seems like your solution leans towards governance reforms, towards governance-centered policy, which is okay. But what about other stakeholders? What about the farmers? How do you keep them on board? How do you expect along with this strategy, with this policy?
Well, as we can see here in our slide, we've mentioned that Thessaly farmers, if they say they can't afford new systems and higher water prices, we respond by saying that drip conversion it's mainly funded by the EU, so they're not taking that much of the cost, right? And the cost drops of water by 25 to 40% via the efficiency. So they're actually getting more water for less price is their main incentive here.
If they got it for free, it's like you still invite them to pay for something that they did not pay for.
But the only issue with that is that the unregistered wells are free until like essentially they run out of water. And the problem is that the water, like some of the water tables already dropped to like 250 meters below ground. And
True.
and by
let me break in here. So I understand the logics. I agree with it, but The question I'm asking is from the perspective of the farmers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like maybe they don't see the whole picture, maybe they don't want to see the whole picture. So there will be a lot of tension. How do you bring them on board with this project?
Well, I guess we can just say we pay for their upgrade. So if they choose to upgrade with us, we'll just pay for it. So in the long run, they'll pay less and also earn more, which is the main incentive for them, probably.
Do you expect them to become some kind of stakeholder inside the project, to take some decisions, to be included in the process of preparing and realizing this project? And if so, then how?
I mean, for the independent basin authority, we can establish like we can elect farmers from different regions or farmers that hold different locations, and we can elect key leaders which represent the farmers, I guess.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay, that was indeed actually a very interesting exchange over there. Just to remind everyone, if you're not sure how to respond, it's okay to take a few seconds off to have a think. There is no urge if it means that your response will be even better. In the meantime, I'd like to invite the next jury to the stage. Please ask away.
Thank you very much for your presentation, which was amazing and really well detailed. I was glad to hear a smooth presentation. Everything was clear and proper. I only have a question which is relevant to what Linda and Alexander asked before. And my question is mainly focused on the private part of this investment. Who is going to be this private part? I mean, who are we inviting? Is it going to become a new firm, a new establishment? Would it be the local farmers or maybe a fund, a construction company? Who would be this private part? So we understand how to invite them, what we need to provide them.
Well, I think the biggest section is definitely just the farmers themselves. This is like through irrigator cooperatives, they can co-invest roughly maybe 700 euros per hectare, which is financed through agricultural credit lines from the Paris Bank and Greek cooperative banks. But we also maybe would have institutional infrastructure developers or investors, and they might invest through stuff like green bonds, which will be issued by our basin authority or Water.S that we've established, and also any beneficiaries, perchance anybody that wants to donate could also help out in this private investment.
So just to add on, like some of the companies such as like GEK, TERNA, so like the water giants and infrastructure groups, like which are partnered with Greek firms, could also be investing in our project.
Thank you very much. It was a really good answer.
And well done the collaboration actually, because you had multiple team members responding, so very well done. And also well done everyone with this presentation. I think you put in a lot of work, I can only imagine. Well done on the research, and I sincerely wish you good luck with the results. You may now rest. And in the meantime, we're going to invite the final team to the stage, which I really look forward to. It's a team of team members from across different countries, including Germany, France, and Ireland. Please welcome to the stage the Elastic Minds. Make yourself known and say hello.
Hello.
Welcome on board. How's everyone doing? Are you ready? A little bit nervous? Or your confidence in your presentation?
I'm doing good, but I guess I'm a little nervous.
No worries, that's normal. How's everyone else in your team doing?
They're not here, unfortunately, to present our case, but they were there to contribute to our research.
Awesome. In that case, mistakes are on you, but good luck. I'm sure you can do this. Whenever you're ready, please do start share your presentation, and time starts the moment you start presenting. Good luck. You can do this.
Okay, thank you.
In the meantime, as a reminder to our audience in YouTube, don't forget to vote for your favorite team on the little QR code, and we will definitely announce the results afterwards. Now, please do start. Good luck.
So, hello, dear judges. My name is Leon, and I will be presenting our case for PIRIS, which is Sustainable Development for the Pinos River. Our goal with this case is to maximize water productivity, stabilize soil, and modernize agricultural infrastructure to secure long-term economic and environmental sustainability in the region. Our first objective comes with modernizing the irrigation network. Right now, the irrigation system is losing a large portion of its water before it ever reaches farms. The issue is not that the region has no water, rather too much of it is disappearing on the way to surrounding farms. Open canals that were built decades ago are allowing water to seep into the ground and evaporate under intense summer heat, with leaks going undetected for months. So, to deliver 100 units of usable water in the current system, it'll need to extract 100 or 20 or more from the river, which is simply not sustainable. So, the plan for this is straightforward and already proven in similar regions like southeastern Spain. There, irrigation districts replace high-loss open canals with buried, pressurized pipes. Water losses drop by around 20%, and farmers receive more reliable supply without reducing production. We can replicate a similar model in the Pinos Basin as it faces similar climates and conditions. First, engineers will identify the first 100 kilometers of canals with the highest water loss. These sections are replaced with underground sealed pipes. This alone can increase system efficiency by roughly 15%. Second, smaller canals that are too expensive to fully replace are lined with concrete or geomembrane materials to minimize seepage. Third, outdated pumping stations are upgraded with modern
Ian, I think we lost you.
We did, but I think he doesn't know that.
I think there is a problem with Ian's internet. Maybe let's give him a few seconds.
Most definitely. In the meantime, we will try and discuss the presentation. I think it's a good start. It's very neat and tidy. Juries, what are your thoughts so far?
It takes a lot of courage to present alone without the team. So I would give that to him at least.
And I think it's also important to mention that we've had quite, I think, 3 teams this year presenting in the finals that did not come in as preformed teams. So participants get the chance to either sign up with their own team, so their friends or classmates, or they can come in as individuals and we assign them to teams. So there, the collaboration level is also maybe a little bit harder in a few cases, I would like to say, since they have to get to know their teammates on the spot and also solve a case study in a week. So I think Ian was in one of those teams, if I'm not mistaken.
It's definitely a big point, and I would like to also add on that possibly there could be a time difference issue where someone might be in the early morning, the other one might be still in the evening, and that definitely does contribute to some kind of challenge when it comes to international collaboration. For example, it's really common for more international teams to, for some members stay up late in the night, others wake up in the morning. But ultimately, it's about obviously the communication. It's about the approach that you have. So you have to be like open to, maybe you made some mistakes to fix them here and there, understand they have different perspectives. And I think this case study definitely contributes to that kind of skill. So I really hope he gets the internet back so that we can finish watching the presentation. But otherwise, I'll agree with Eleni. It's definitely, and with Alexander about the courage to present alone. It's definitely more challenging than it is to present a team. So I really hope his internet comes back so we can see the full product. There we go. These are my thoughts.
In the meantime, maybe the jury can also work on finalizing their grades in the Excel spreadsheet. I know it's going to be a difficult decision at the end. We've already seen four really good teams and still pending for one. But yeah, maybe you guys can take some time to finalize your grades for the teams that already presented. And I see we also have still the presenters from the past teams. Maybe we can have a short discussion until Ayan is back online. Ayan, feel free to open your mic once your internet is back.
We have seen four amazing presentations, and that's exactly what Eleni said before, that in the Winter Challenge we do something that is maybe unprecedented in other competitions. We invite people to join us if they have a team, which is quite usual, but even if they don't, we ask them to join us as individual registrants, and if they don't have a team or they cannot form a team together, we just announce them that they have 3 or 4 more participants that will be joining them to form a team. So you have seen here some people who met each other about a week before, and in this week they understood what the task is, how to work together, what they could contribute, each one of them in this team, and we saw those results. In previous years, sometimes those teams didn't make it to the finals, but this year we have the majority of the teams in those finals that came from such combinations, which were almost random. We just took care of the time zones and maybe some age criteria, not having people from very various ages being together. But that's something that makes Winter Challenge unique to my mind. It makes it something like a structured playground for those people to learn, to meet with each other, and to understand what economics and business is for. That's why we always have a practical business case, something that can be applied. And the other part, which is always under review and under conversation, is that we have them peer grade each other, because we believe that when you try to learn, when you try to understand, you not only need to create, to build something, but you also need to try to become the Jerry yourself. We have seen that they understand way better how grading works, what we should focus on, and it probably makes them work from this side for the first time in their life, because some of those young minds are really young, are 16 years old, 17 years old, and they have the chance to peer grade the other contestants, their colleagues. That's really interesting, and I think that we should consider other ways to make this collaborative education applicable in other places, in other educational systems too. If we have a young with us, I think it's the time to listen to him. Otherwise, maybe we should move forward. We cannot expect for that long. Is he responsive?
Yeah, so actually, if within the 10-minute frame he doesn't respond, then we will move on. But in the meantime, we'll be waiting, and we have some activities coming up. In the meantime, I'd like to call up anyone from the first team, Team Odysseio. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about? Maybe what your experience was presenting? Did you find what was challenging? What did you find to be fun? Just for us to know as well, and to discuss. If you would like to talk, you're more than welcome to. It's your stage. I see someone's preparing. There we go.
Yeah, maybe
Hi.
before you guys join in. Good job, everyone. Yeah, sorry for cutting you off, guys. Good job, everyone. these presentations are going to be used as preparation for at least one team for the business case in the IO. So thank you very much, and thank you to all of the judges because they have been giving great advice, which we will follow this IO summer. So yeah, there you go, guys.
So, do you have any experience you'd like to mention? Maybe something you found challenging or actually found fun? Anything at all? The stage is yours for the next minute or so. Feel free to mention it and we'll happily take into account. Go ahead.
So thank you so much for your organization for the opportunity. It was a pleasure to work on this. I think that the most exciting experience that we had along the business case is about research other country market, stakeholders experience, because this creates such excellent cultural repertoire for us about how your world exists, like have more experience in other countries that has different enterprises structure, that has different funding schemes. And this is something that really deeps our cultural knowledge for real life.
Thanks for sharing, guys. And again, thank you all for participating. I believe we might also have a quick video now we prepared from presentations that we have received. Spiro, can we have that playing? Maybe it's nice to also see the teams that maybe didn't make it through the peer grading, but still sent us over some great material.
Sorry, we had some audio problem. If this was a question, could you repeat it, please?
It was not a question.
Oh.
It was we're expecting a video now to play from some teams that you might have also peer graded in the previous round.
Oh, okay.
A group of young economists, their names? Vian, Nupur, Achyut, Lucas, and Rohan came together under the name Liquidity Trap to solve the problem with the Pineios River Basin.
Rivers like this are the agriculture pipeline for rural communities.
However, local people around the river ecosystem, making it lifeline of Thessaly.
We're going to plant pumpkins from July to August and harvest them in 100 days.
What are you doing in here? I'm a strategist, and I've been working on a concept of Cindy Team project. Sofa, what about you?
I'm a financer, and I do finance calculations. Stop what? Jasmine?
Hi, I'm a researcher, and I've read tons of articles over the last week.
Imagine a region that is drowning into winter, yet dying of the thirst in the summer.
Projects increase water supply, and our projects reduce dependency on water.
Let's close the deal. Thank you.
So I believe Ayan has joined again. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. You can restart your presentation. You will have 10 minutes again. No
Okay.
worries. Technical issues happen all the time. So feel free to restart.
Okay, thank you so much.
And you were doing great before the interruption.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll restart now. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, dear judges. My name is Leon, and I'll be presenting our case for PIRIS, which is Sustainable Development for the Pineios. Our goal with this is to maximize water productivity, stabilize soil, and modernize agricultural infrastructure to secure long-term economic and environmental sustainability in Thessaly. Our first objective is irrigation network modernization. Right now, the Pinos irrigation system is losing a large portion of its water before it ever reaches farms. The issue is not that Thessaly has no water, rather too much of it is disappearing on the way to surrounding farms. Open canals that were built decades ago are allowing water to seep into the ground and evaporate under intense summer heat, with leaks going undetected for months. So, to deliver 100 units of usable water, the current system needs to extract 120 or more from the river, which is simply not sustainable. The plan for this is straightforward and already proven in similar regions like southeastern Spain. There, irrigation districts replaced high-loss open canals with buried, pressurized pipes. Water losses dropped by around 20%, and farmers received more reliable supply without reducing production. We can replicate a similar model in the Pinos Basin, as it faces similar climates and conditions. First, engineers will identify 100 kilometers of canals with the highest water loss. These sections are replaced with underground sealed pipes, which alone can increase system efficiency by roughly 15%. Second, smaller canals that are too expensive to fully replace are lined with concrete or geomembrane materials to minimize seepage. Third, outdated pumping stations are upgraded with modern energy-efficient rotors that can cut electricity costs by up to 15 to 20%. Altogether, these upgrades raise irrigation efficiency from 75 to 80% to over 90%. In real terms, this means that the same agricultural output can be achieved with 20% less water being extracted from the river and aquifers, and the basin can secure long-term stability. Overall, this plan is expected to be put out in phases and take full effect by 2034. The impacts of modernization are increased drought resilience, as aquifers are no longer depleting easily, river flow to farmland becoming more stable and consistent, and emergency cases requiring water to be transferred into the system becoming less likely. Our second objective is to modernize farms for sustainable agriculture. Even if we raise irrigation efficiency, many farms in the basin continue to use flood irrigation, old sprinkler systems, zero soil moisture monitoring, water-intensive crops in water-stressed zones. These methods are simply not sustainable. Flood irrigation, for example, operates at 50 to 60% efficiency, meaning that half the delivered water doesn't ever touch the roots. So, the plan. Firstly, we move farmers to drip irrigation systems within 7 years. Drip irrigation offers at 95% efficiency compared to flood irrigation's measly 50 to 60%. This has already been proven to work in similar climates like in southeastern Spain. By implementing it, we can actively save over 60 million cubic meters of floodwater per year, given that each hectare uses 5,000 cubic meters as of right now. Second, we add moisture sensors paired with smart irrigation scheduling. Farmers tend to over irrigate because they lack real-time soil data. These systems, as already being used in California's Central Valley, optimize water consumption while maintaining the same level of output. Lastly, we reduce acreage for water-intensive crops. Cotton currently requires 7,000 to 9,000 cubic meters of water per hectare annually. Switching to just 20% cotton acreage reduces water usage by 2,000 cubic meters per hectare annually. However, this plan is voluntary and incentive-based. Farmers that opt for this receive support payments for 3 years. The impacts of modernizing farms are that just by the infrastructure, 25 million cubic meters of water is annually being saved. Modernizing the farms themselves saves 40 million cubic meters. Hence, the total production is 65 million cubic meters, which is transformational for the region. Our third objective is to reduce the risk of land degradation. Land degradation reduces yields by 15% over time, which in a region that produces hundreds of millions of euros in agricultural output means that tens of millions of euros are being lost in GDP annually. More critically, degraded land requires more water and more fertilizer over time to maintain output, which emphasizes the importance of objectives 1 and 2. The model for this is mandatory crop rotation. Continuous monocropping accelerates soil degradation. Crop rotations increases soil organic carbon and reduces degradation by up to 30%. Controlling drainage systems prevents salinization. Irrigated Mediterranean basins commonly suffer from excess soil buildup. Spain's Ebro Valley faced similar issues, and their solution was to install subsurface drainage systems in their most vulnerable areas. In the Pinos Basin, around 150,000 hectares are at salinization risk. Subsurface drainage systems in these areas can prevent yield losses of 20% annually. Without intervention, the soil would be degraded beyond use within 10 years. Our third step is to include riparian buffer zones. Currently, 150 kilometers of agricultural land extends directly into riverbanks, increasing erosion and nutrient runoff. Adding 10-meter-long buffer strips along priority sections can reduce erosion by 40% in those areas. The impacts of this model are long-term soil productivity being preserved, irreversible salinization damage being prevented, water quality being improved, and emergency spending in the future being avoided. This is how the enforcement of the entire program is going to go. So firstly, the creation of a basin authority and dedicated maintenance fund will help solidify the legality and prevent backsliding. The funds for the program will be released in tranches to ensure targets are met. If targets are not being met, the funding pauses, which forces compliance. Flow meters will be installed for volumetric pricing to prevent underreporting, and farmers will see lower total water use, lower energy bills, and higher yield stability, which creates legitimacy among the farmers and makes the plan self-enforcing, preventing reversal. The total program cost is estimated to be around $410 million. This is broken down into the irrigation network modernization being $83 to $85 million, farm modernization being $150 million, land protection being $88 million, the administration being $45 million, and an additional contingency reserve, which accounts for inflations and overruns, being $44 million. These costs are calculated based on the average cost for every necessity for full modernization. The costs are the total costs spread over 2026 to 2034, and the mentioned long-term benefits should be kept in mind as they improve the current failing system and avoid irreversible collapse. This is where the money is going to come from. Firstly, the Common Agriculture Policy and EU Structural Fund will account for 40% of the 410 million. Farm modernization, land protection, and irrigation efficiency qualify under the pillars of the CAP and align with EU biodiversity and climate frameworks. The Greek government accounts for 25%. Given agriculture's importance to the Thessaly region, this is a viable ask, and the funding sources are the capital allocation from the Ministry of Agriculture and the National Recovery and Resilience Fund. The EIB will offer an infrastructure loan, which accounts for 25%. This loan is only for infrastructure-heavy components and will be a 20-year green bond at 3% interest, which keeps it feasible and bankable. Farmer contribution will count for 10% of the total. This roughly equals to a payment of $58 to $60 per hectare annually by the farmers. This is enough to prevent backlash, as it is paired with yield gains and energy savings for the farmers. Our cost recovery system includes a volumetric pricing reform. Currently, irrigation fees are at a flat rate per hectare in the region. For the duration of the plan, if we transition into a volumetric rate of 12 cents per cubic meter, assuming that total annual usage in the basin irrigation network is 75 million cubic meters, this can cover the EIB loan servicing and part of the basin maintenance fund. Pump upgrades save 20% electricity. If basin pumping costs were 12 million annually, we can save 2.5. Half of these savings can be reinvested into the basin maintenance fund. The increased agricultural output is around 5 to 8%. The total agricultural GDP currently sits at $1 billion. A 5% growth signals 50 million additional dollars being added to the output per year. Even after a modest tax capture, the government can recover its contribution per year. Thank you.
First of all, Ian, well done. Despite the technical difficulties, you have really pulled off a great presentation. Very well done. And I really liked your calm demeanor despite the technical hiccup. And well done to making it to the finals. We're gonna now call up the juries for some amazing questions. John, would you like to start?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfectly well.
Thank you. So, first of all, Jan, congratulations. I wish I had the courage when I was at your age to stand against a jury committee and present my idea. So, congratulations for that. I have two questions actually. Which country are you from?
I'm from Germany.
Germany, okay. I have a question that concerns the whole presentation because your numbers is in dollars. Am I right?
Yep.
And how come didn't you use euros?
Well, I didn't use euros because I just from where I got my data from, dollars was the overall most common currency unit being used for these upgrades.
Okay, so it's from your sources. Okay, so I have one more question if everyone allows me, but I really liked your layout and the presentations, but I didn't get which option you decided to follow from option A and option B from the briefcase. Can you clarify that, please?
So I chose leaning towards option A, which is the public funding.
Okay.
And so the public funding will come, as I mentioned, 25% from the Greek government, 40% from the EU, and 10% from the farmers themselves, which accommodates for most of the budget. And so the Greek government will pull from their tax revenue in the Thessaly region and reinvest it into the basin. Farmers will contribute their fair share of $58 to $60 per hectare, which is enough for it to have a meaningful amount being contributed. And it's not too much where the farmers start showing some backlash. And then the rest will come from the Common Agriculture Policy, as I mentioned, as it aligns with EU pillars.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayan.
Thank you.
That was a very good question. Yep. Just for future reference, those who are watching us on YouTube, yes, we do sometimes look at currencies, but don't stress at all. It's just a way for us to see that can you really contextualize information down to the case study and not just generalize it. Now, I'd like to invite to the stage the next judge, Konstantinos. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Eva. I have one comment, one small piece of advice, and one final question. The comment is that I agree with what just John said. I wish I had the courage in your age too to present something like that, especially when I'm alone, although it may be a teamwork, but now you're doing it alone, so you did it alone, so this was a very good one. One small piece of advice is try, in general, in the presentations, not to read all the time from what you are presenting. You had a good presentation, but you could, let's say, elaborate more with different wording rather than just reading the text. But it was a good presentation in general. That's why I'm sharing that with you. And one final question is that in order to persuade the farmers to contribute this amount, the 58 to 60, I don't remember if it was euros or dollars or whatever was the amount, the 10%. How do you plan to approach them? Do you have a plan in your mind how to approach them in order to make them contribute, especially when we have seen in the past that, and other teams also mentioned it, that it may be some resistance to that. It kind of seems very optimistic to not only not face resistance, but also ask from them to fund it up to a point of 10%. That was my question. I hope I made it clear.
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to propose to the farmers what the benefits are going to be. So they're going to save water in their farmland. They're going to have lower energy costs overall, and their yield is going to be more stable and it'll grow as time goes on rather than decline with the current system in place. So by showing this to the farmers, I feel like I could get on their side and they could understand that this is better for them. And it's around $58 to $60 because they are still farmers, so it's not too much money to ask for, but it's enough to still have a stable fund and from them. And it's also, as I said, self-reinforcing as they're seeing these benefits coming on over time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that was a really good interaction right there. Dear juries, do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask Ayan? Not yet. Okay, in that case, I'm thinking what we're gonna do is that small reflection, the juries will do their calculations and see who they think will be the first, second, and third. And now I'd like to pass on the stage to Eleni. Please welcome on stage.
Maybe.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you to all the jury members that joined us today, to all the participants that joined us from across the world to present their solutions. I will now quickly screen share for the QR code for the public award, the audience award that we have every year. Right now, the jury are finalizing their grades for all 5 teams that presented to finals. Let me remind you that those were the top 5 graded teams according to the peer grading system that we have in place. So after teams submit the business cases, they are assigned to different teams to grade. And those are the ones that end up in finals, presenting in front of the jury. Now we also like to give, though, to the rest of the participants the chance to have a say in who gets a recognition, let's say, in the Winter Challenge. Hence why we have the Audience Award. Please feel free to scan the QR code, send the form to your family, friends, if you want to be one of the highlighted teams. The award will be announced tomorrow at the closing ceremony. A reminder for everyone watching us from YouTube or from the teams here to join the closing ceremony tomorrow. We have our farewell. We've made it this far to the Winter Challenge. So yeah, why not join us tomorrow? We will celebrate again the winning teams from today. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you a couple of seconds to scan the QR code again, send over your vote, and have a say in one of the highlighted teams. Maybe a few more seconds for the ones that haven't scanned the QR code yet. Again, the Audience Award will be announced tomorrow, so you still have time to vote for your favorite team. Perfect. And before we proceed with the results, I can imagine that it's a difficult task for our jury. We've seen some incredible presentations, and thank you guys for your contribution today and the feedback that you've shared. I think most of the participants have mentioned that they are very thankful for it, and they will be implementing it to future competitions as well. And that's what we'd like to see. So let me also show you some honorable mentions from the peer grading. We've seen all your submissions, and even if you didn't make it to finals, your submission has stood out to us. So starting off with Team Tan Exchange, a team from the USA. These are some highlights from their submission that we would like to share with you. Thank you guys. Unfortunately, you didn't make it to the finals presenting. You did make it in a different way. Another team is Western United from Uzbekistan. Here, I think we also see the variety of teams from all over the world that are participating in the Winter Challenge. It is a tradition after we wrap up each year's competition, we also share the statistics. So how many teams we've had each year? We've seen an immense growth in the past 6 years of countries participating, and we are always happy to see more joining. Another one is the Econ Quakerers. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, from Malaysia. I also love seeing the creativity in how you guys name your teams each year. They're usually connected to something in economics or finance, but we also see, we saw Team Odysseio this year, so that was quite nice. Another team we'd like to highlight is Team Nazarbayev Consulting Group from Kazakhstan, if I'm not mistaken. Also a very impressive presentation that we've received. Thank you so much for sending us your ideas and taking part in this year's Winter Challenge. And the last thing we'd like to highlight is Team Tonbridge School from the UK. That's also a presentation that stood out to us. Maybe you didn't make it to the finals presenting, but still, you did an exceptional job, so we would like to congratulate you. I see that our jury have finalized their grades, and I believe that we might be able to share the results now for who has won this year's business case finals. One last chance maybe to submit your audience award, and a reminder, we'd love to see what you guys thought. But I would like to invite Christos now to maybe say a few closing words. Christos, can you hear us?
Of course, I can hear you. I was quite distracted because I just learned who is the winner, so I know what everyone wants to know at this moment. But I will keep you waiting for a while, just to thank you all for being here, especially our esteemed jury members who made it uh, through this Saturday and found the way to be here and to work with us and watch all those interesting and very different among many differences existed among those presentations. That's what I liked a lot. And I think that this year we had the most multinational finals ever, which is
Indeed.
a great improvement, something I would like to see. I expected teams that were pre-formed to be way better, and I saw that even teams that were formed by us made it to the finals, and not just made it to the finals, but did a great work. And since I had the privilege to watch all the cases, just to make sure that they were fine, as we have to share them with minors, and we need to take care of what we are sharing with them. I was excited. I can say without being wrong on that about 30 of them could be in the finals, and it wouldn't be boring. It would just be exhausting having so many teams, but still the results would be amazing and worth being here. That's why I suggest you follow us tomorrow in the closing ceremony to find out who was the 11th, the 12th, etc. So I would like to invite Linda, who supported us a lot in this year's Winter Challenge, and she is going to announce the bronze medal. So, Linda, please.
Okay, well, it's my honor to announce the bronze medal winner. It's yeah, congratulations, the Elastic Minds.
And now we can move forward to the silver medals to invite Alexander.
Yeah, may I take a minute before I name this team? It was a great pleasure to listen to all of you guys. It's an amazing and interesting thing that the bronze medal went. Am I correct? This is the one guy that was the last.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations to you. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for the whole team. I wanted to say one word to everyone who presented, and even I have been able to look through some of the presentations you had, not going into finals. Almost all of the presentations were voiced greatly, and some of those words you used were big, flashy, to make an impression, but not backed with specifics. So this is one thing that I can give you as a feedback, not on the final day, not like as an improvement point. Please work better with the data research, with the analysis. If you do, you will get the top high marks in any place. So one of the presentations that got the silver medal, it was the presentations that I almost completely understood. It was well structured, with clear, understandable slides, and I loved the prioritization. So silver medal goes to... Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations. Both bronze and silver medalists made a great presentation. I think that each and every one of the presentations that we have been watching was beyond expectations for most of us, and that's great. I understand the comment Alexander made before, and I more or less agree that we don't need to focus on the words. Sometimes we need to focus on the reality, on the data, on the facts. One of the most well backed by facts and by reality presentations was the one that made it to become the gold medalists. So the gold medal goes to I guess that we should invite them for a few words and, of course, to congratulate them. I can only imagine how happy you may be after this long journey through the Winter Challenge. I'm really happy to have you with us. So, if any of you, gold, silver, or even bronze team, want to say something, please open your microphones and share something about your experience. Especially, I would like to know how was it to build a team out of the blue, actually. So for those teams, I would like to know how was the experience. Was it a good one, a hard one? Would you do it again ever? Would you suggest it to a friend or no?
I see we have a few people if they would like to unmute themselves and yeah, be nice to hear from you. I mean, you've made it this far. You presented in front of the jury. Don't be shy to share how you feel about it now. Maybe they are too shy for today. Maybe they would
Maybe
like...
I would like to hear what Ayan would like to say. How are you feeling, Ayan?
I feel good, yeah. I mean, it was a bit more difficult because I had to present on my own. So I didn't have my team to rely on with me today, but it was definitely an amazing experience doing this challenge. And I really appreciate the unique format with it being a business case and it being peer reviewed. So yeah, I would definitely do it again. And it was definitely a huge pleasure being a part of this.
That's good to know. And yeah, you're always welcome to come back for next year's Winter Challenge. Yeah, I would love to see you also at the closing ceremony tomorrow. I'm not sure if any of the other teams would like to unmute themselves, but I feel like they are a bit quiet now, maybe overwhelmed with the results. And but yeah, you'll definitely get some time to speak on stage tomorrow. We'll be in touch with you in the group chats, and we'll arrange the details for tomorrow. But yeah, other than that, congratulations once again. I'd like to wrap it up. Thank you to our jury for participating. I know that was not an easy task, and you've seen some great presentations, and yeah, dedicating your time today. We'd love to have you next year as well. And yeah, looking forward to seeing everyone at the closing ceremony tomorrow to also find out who got the audience award this year. So congratulations, everyone. Last reminder for the closing ceremony tomorrow, it will be held at 12 p.m. UTC. The Zoom links will be shared via email and also in the group chats, but they're also in the Gmail calendar that we've shared with you in advance. And have a great afternoon, everyone, or evening, depending on where you're joining us from.